Hey archaeology fans, it's Girl Archaeologist, and today I am at the site of Sotira-Kaminoudhia, which is an early Bronze Age and Middle Bronze Age site that I actually use as one of the case studies in my master's thesis. I've come here to take a couple of photos that I need for my paper, but in the meantime I thought I'd show you around. Now, just so you know, the big hill that you see behind me, this is actually Sotira Tepes, which for the life of me I can't remember whether it's actually a ceramic Neolithic or an early Chalcolithic site, but definitely earlier than what I'm working on. So let's go look at the Bronze Age stuff. So Sotira-Kaminoudhia was excavated as three separate areas. Now the settlement is far larger than what's been excavated, because excavation is time-consuming and expensive, but as you can see, there's some really good stratigraphy, nice and deep. Personally, I love walking through the roads of these small towns because it kind of gives you a feel for what it would have been like to live here, whereas the archaeologists, we tend to just walk over the walls because they're so short. But it's important to remember that this isn't how the site would have been interacted with by the people who lived here. Stuart Sweeney was the principal investigator on this project, and he believes this to be a fairly typical early to middle Bronze Age farming settlement. Now you can see here there are these narrow roads and then houses. Now the Bronze Age is where we start to see rectilinear structures in Cyprus. Prior to this, houses were usually round or oval or oblong. Now, saying these are rectilinear usually is pretty generous. The walls aren't too parallel, but this is an interesting room here. It's very large, very square. And interestingly, instead of having a door onto the road, if you look right here, there's a staircase. This reminds me of another early and middle Bronze Age site on Cyprus, Akrotiri, which is being excavated by Steve Falconer at Arizona State. And they have a large room, actually probably about 3 times the size of this one, with a gaming stone in the middle of it, but similarly accessed, which he thinks may have actually served as a village square or gathering spot. Another piece of evidence for that large square room being something special is what the other houses look like. Now here's a fairly typical one, maybe a bit on the large side, but as you can see, there's multiple conjoined rooms, and the passageways between the rooms are very large. There's no mistaking the fact that these were all associated spaces. You can see there's a bench along the wall in this room. And over in that room, you can see a pair of querns for grinding your grain and a storage pit of some sort, maybe even a hearth. Here. Then we have another entrance. This one's got a huge room. Maybe it was even a courtyard. It's hard to say. We don't know how these things were roofed. Has a grinding area, some sort of a storage space in the back, and then here's another entrance. There you can see querns with the, in the Spanish we would call this a mano and metate, but it's a quern and a grinding stone. And then it's another room in the back, which may or may not have a bench. It's hard to say. That wall above that is maybe later, or there may actually be an intentional ledge built into that. One of the things archaeologists have to do is always question what they're looking at. Now you can see most of the walls are pretty consistent thickness throughout the settlement. But if you look right here, there's this huge wall. This thing's over 1 meter thick. Now, first thought might be defensive wall, but here's the trick. You come back here, take a look. See how the wall only goes down a little distance? It actually would run over the Bronze Age wall. This wall was built later. This was not a Bronze Age wall, not part of the original settlement. Explains why it doesn't look like the rest. These walls are only maybe 50, 60 centimeters high compared to the 1.5 meters in the other excavated areas. But it is interesting that the Bronze Age inhabitants obviously were taking advantage of the proximity of the bedrock. So as you can see here, there are cuts directly into the bedrock. So what do you think these were used for?